Who fires the first shot when a superpower and a former empire finally stop rehearsing and start fighting for real? China brings the world's largest navy, a missile arsenal built to keep America out, and millions of soldiers ready to move. Japan brings advanced destroyers, stealth jets, a fortress of islands blocking China's path to the Pacific, and a treaty that drags Washington into the fight the moment Tokyo is hit. On paper, the answer looks obvious. In the real world, geography, alliances, and history flip the script. In this video, we are going to test that simple question the people love to argue about. Who would win if China and Japan went to war against hard numbers and unforgiving maps? We will break down ships, planes, missiles, and alliance networks and see why one miscalculation in the East China Sea could redraw the Indo-Pacific in a single week. In 2024, China spent roughly $314 billion US on its military, while Japan spent about $55.3 billion US. The spending gap tells only part of the story. In terms of sheer manpower, the People's Liberation Army fields over 2 million active duty personnel, making it the largest standing military in the world. The Japan Self-Defense Forces, meanwhile, number approximately 240,000, less than 1/8 the size of China's force. This disparity in scale reflects fundamentally different strategic priorities. China's military is designed to project power across the Indo-Pacific and beyond, while Japan's has been constitutionally limited to territorial defense. But change is coming. In December 2022, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's government announced a historic shift in Japan's defense posture. Tokyo pledged to increase military spending to 2% of GDP by 2027, bringing the annual budget to an estimated $80 to $90 billion. Over 5 years, Japan plans to invest roughly $320 billion in new capabilities, including long-range strike missiles, additional F-35 stealth fighters, and integrated cyber and space units. This represents the most significant expansion of Japanese military power since the end of World War II. Still, even with this ambitious buildup, Japan will continue to spend far less than China. By 2027, China's defense budget could exceed $300 billion officially, and potentially $450 to $600 billion in reality. That means China will still be outspending Japan by a factor of 4 to 8, depending on whose numbers you trust. But raw budgets and troop counts don't tell the full story. Japan's real challenge is threefold: geography, doctrine, and the ghosts of history. Closer to home, the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea have become a dangerous flashpoint. China claims the uninhabited islands as its own Diaoyu territory and has steadily escalated its presence in the surrounding waters. In 2020, Chinese Coast Guard vessels operated near the Senkaku Islands for a record 333 consecutive days. Chinese submarines and naval warships have repeatedly entered Japan's 12 nautical mile territorial zone. And, in 2021, Beijing passed a law explicitly authorizing its Coast Guard to use force against foreign vessels in waters it claims. Then, there's Taiwan. Japanese defense analysts increasingly warn that a Chinese attack on Taiwan would directly threaten Japan's security. The island sits barely 110 kilometers from Japan's Yonaguni Island, and any conflict would almost certainly draw in U.S. forces stationed in Japan, making Japanese territory a legitimate target for Chinese retaliation. During China's massive military exercises around Taiwan in 2022, several Chinese ballistic missiles landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone, a stark reminder of how quickly Tokyo could be pulled into a crisis. The reason Japan's rearmament is controversial has less to do with today's threats and more to do with the scars it left across Asia 8 decades ago. Between 1895 and 1945, Japan carved out one of the most brutal empires in modern history, leaving wounds across Asia that have never fully healed. In the First Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 95, Japan defeated the Qing dynasty and seized Taiwan. By 1910, Japan had formally annexed Korea, beginning a 35-year occupation marked by forced labor, cultural suppression, and systemic violence. Under the banner of the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, Tokyo claimed it was liberating Asia from Western colonialism. In reality, Japanese forces imposed a reign of terror across China, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific. When Japan finally surrendered in August 1945, after atomic bombs destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the country lay in ruins. American occupiers drafted a new constitution designed to ensure Japan could never again threaten its neighbors. Article 9, enshrined in 1947, explicitly renounced war and prohibited Japan from maintaining military forces beyond what was necessary for immediate self-defense. For the next 7 decades, Article 9 became the cornerstone of Japan's national identity. The country rebuilt itself as a pacifist democracy, channeling its ambitions into economic growth rather than military power. Meanwhile, the United States guaranteed Japan's security through the U.S. Japan Security Treaty, making American military might the ultimate backstop for Japanese defense. While Japan spent 70 years constrained by its past, China spent the same decades building the world's largest military and a very different vision for Asia. In 1991, the First Gulf War shocked Chinese military planners. They watched American forces dismantle Iraq's Soviet-equipped army in a matter of weeks, using precision-guided weapons, stealth aircraft, and network-centric warfare. China's People's Liberation Army, at the time, still relying on massive formations of poorly trained infantry and outdated Soviet-era equipment, realized it was decades behind. That realization triggered a transformation that continues today. By 2007, China had become the world's second-largest military spender, a position it has held ever since. Under President Xi Jinping, who took power in 2012, this buildup accelerated dramatically. Xi restructured the entire command system and demanded that the PLA develop capabilities for informatized warfare, China's term for network-centric combat. He also set explicit timelines. The PLA should be fully modernized by 2035 and become a world-class military by 2049. China's military doctrine reflects its strategic goals. The primary focus is anti-access area denial, commonly known as A2AD. This strategy aims to prevent foreign forces, particularly the U.S. Navy and Air Force, from operating freely within the First Island chain, the arc of islands stretching from Japan through Taiwan to the Philippines. To achieve this, China has invested heavily in ballistic and cruise missiles, advanced air defenses, submarines, and cyber warfare capabilities designed to target American bases and carrier groups. Beyond defense, China is also building power projection capabilities. The PLA Navy now operates 3 aircraft carriers, with a 4th under construction. China established its first overseas military base in Djibouti in 2017. The goal is clear. China no longer sees itself as a regional power content to defend its borders. It seeks the ability to protect its interests and challenge rivals anywhere in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. The clearest way to see the gap and Japan's quiet advantages is to compare them domain by domain, starting with the most visible, their navies. China operates over 370 warships, Japan, around 50. But counting hulls is like counting bullets. It misses the point. The PLA Navy is now the largest fleet in the world by number of vessels. As of 2024, China fields 3 operational aircraft carriers, the Liaoning, Shandong, and Fujian, with a 4th under construction. It operates approximately 50 destroyers, 50 frigates, and more than 60 submarines. This is a blue water navy designed to dominate the Western Pacific and project power far beyond China's shores. Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force, by comparison, operates roughly 50 major surface combatants. It has no aircraft carriers in the traditional sense, though it does possess 2 Izumo-class helicopter destroyers that are being retrofitted to carry F-35B stealth fighters. Japan's surface fleet includes 4 Maya-class Aegis destroyers, some of the most advanced air defense ships in the world. Japan also maintains 22 submarines, a mix of the older Soryu class and the newer Taige class boats. Geography also plays to Japan's advantage. The Japanese archipelago forms a natural barrier across the first island chain, forcing any Chinese naval force heading into the Pacific to pass through narrow straits, Miyako, Tsushima, or the waters near Okinawa. Japan has fortified these choke points with shore-based anti-ship missiles, maritime patrol aircraft, and forward-deployed submarines. In a conflict, the JMSDF would not need to match China ship for ship. It would need to make passage through these straits prohibitively costly. The same pattern holds in the air and in the missile domain, but with a twist that should worry Tokyo. China fields over 2,800 combat aircraft. Japan, around 370. As of 2024, China possesses roughly 2,800 combat aircraft, including approximately 1,200 modern 4th and 5th generation fighters. The fleet includes large numbers of domestically produced J-10 multi-role fighters, J-11 and J-16 variants, and the J-20 stealth fighter. Japan's Air Self-Defense Force operates around 370 combat aircraft. The backbone of the fleet consists of roughly 200 F-15J Eagles, many of which are aging. Japan is addressing this gap by acquiring F-35 stealth fighters. As of 2024, Japan had taken delivery of approximately 90 F-35s, with plans to eventually operate over 140. The real asymmetry, though, lies in missiles. The PLA rocket force operates an estimated 2,000 ballistic and cruise missiles capable of striking targets across the first island chain and beyond. These include DF-21 and DF-26 anti-ship ballistic missiles designed to target aircraft carriers, DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicles, and thousands of shorter-range systems that can saturate Japanese air defenses. The U.S. Japan Security Treaty, signed in 1960, commits the United States to defend Japan in the event of an attack. American forces stationed in Japan include the 7th Fleet, headquartered at Yokosuka Naval Base, U.S. Marine Corps units on Okinawa, and Air Force squadrons at Kadena, Misawa, and other installations. These forces don't just defend Japan, they serve as the forward edge of American military power throughout the Indo-Pacific. Since 2015, Japan has been authorized to engage in collective self-defense, meaning the JSDF can now support U.S. forces under attack, even if Japan itself has not been directly threatened. This legal shift transformed the alliance from a one-way security guarantee into a genuine partnership. Japanese Aegis destroyers now integrate seamlessly into U.S. ballistic missile defense networks. Beyond the bilateral alliance, Japan is deepening security ties across the region. In 2023, Japan and South Korea took a historic step forward when Prime Minister Kishida and President Yoon Suk-yeol met with President Biden at Camp David. The three leaders committed to annual trilateral summits and joint military exercises. Despite decades of historical animosity, South Korea and Japan are now coordinating closely on shared early warning systems and intelligence sharing. Japan is also a founding member of the Quad, the informal security grouping that includes the United States, Australia, and India. While not a formal military alliance, the Quad conducts annual Malabar naval exercises, shares intelligence on Chinese activities, and coordinates diplomatic responses to Beijing's coercion. China, by contrast, has no equivalent alliance system. Its only formal treaty ally is North Korea, a liability more than an asset. So who has the stronger military? The answer depends on the question you're asking. If the question is who can field more ships, planes, troops, and missiles, China wins decisively. The PLA is larger, growing faster, and increasingly capable of projecting power far beyond its borders. China's defense budget is 4 to 8 times larger than Japan's. The real test isn't who wins in a theoretical head-to-head matchup. It's whether China believes it could achieve its objectives quickly enough to avoid a protracted conflict with the United States and its allies. So far, that calculation appears to be holding. Despite aggressive gray zone operations and military exercises, Beijing has not crossed the line into open conflict. Japan's 2027 defense plan aims to strengthen deterrence further. Over the next 5 years, Tokyo will spend approximately $320 billion to acquire long-range counter-strike missiles, expand its F-35 fleet to over 140 aircraft, convert its helicopter destroyers into light carriers, and build integrated cyber and space capabilities. But uncertainty remains. Can military balance alone prevent conflict, or does it simply raise the stakes? Gray zone incidents in the East China Sea continue to escalate. A single miscalculation, a collision between ships, a missile accidentally crossing into territorial airspace could spiral into something far worse. And looming over everything is Taiwan. If China decides to use force to reunify with the island, Japan would almost certainly be drawn into the conflict, whether it wants to be or not. What do you think about this military comparison? Does Japan's alliance advantage outweigh China's raw power, or is the gap too large to overcome? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to understand how a Taiwan conflict would reshape the entire region, check out our video on that scenario. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth military analysis.